Spend a day exploring Anne Shirley's Canada with me through a trip arranged by Sue Q Travel. We got into Charlottetown the night before and didn't do anything, but look how cute my room was set up. The next day, I hopped in the car and of course, I read an Anne book all the way to the Green Gables Visitor Center. Now this Visitor Center is where the real Green Gables is, but they also have a museum with Montgomery's real typewriter, a picture that inspired Anne, and first edition copies of the book. And then it was time to go out back and see the real Green Gables, and yes, I teared up a little whenever I saw it. It was so surreal getting to see Green Gables. And then came the moment I've been waiting my entire life for. I got to go inside Green Gables. The entrance had this wallpaper that was so cute, I just had to share it. And then there was the parlor, followed by the dining room, and the bedroom off the kitchen, which was Matthew's room in the book and was set up to look like Matthew's room. The kitchen, and there was two smaller pantries off the kitchen. Then it was time to go upstairs, and the upstairs did have the east gable, which is Anne's room. I was blown away getting to see Anne's room, especially because it was set up with her things, like her brown dress with puff sleeves, the carpet bag she brought to Green Gables, and her ugly dresses that Marilla made her wear. Marilla's room was also upstairs, as was Rachel Lynde's room. Outside, we got to explore the real haunted wood. If you're familiar with the books, you'll recognize this path from the section where Anne is supposed to be walking to Diana's, but she begins telling herself ghost stories and she ends up scaring herself and thinking that there are white things after her. But thankfully there are no white things on this path and it is very lovely. In addition to the haunted wood, Lover's Lane is another path that's behind the real Green Gables. Montgomery visited a lot because her family owned Green Gables, and she also wrote about it quite frequently. The last thing I did was try a raspberry cordial. I mean, did you even visit Green Gables if you didn't do that? It's very carbonated. It definitely tastes like raspberry juice, not so much soda, which I prefer. It was then time to say goodbye to Green Gables, and we actually visited the graveyard that is Ellen Montgomery's final resting place. There's a beautiful little stone path that leads up to where she and her husband, the Reverend Ewan MacDonald, are laid to rest. The next stop of the day was Silver Bush, and yes, this is where Pat of Silver Bush came from. This was another home owned by Montgomery's relatives where she had a room, and it is also the house that she was married in. This is the parlor where her wedding ceremony to the Reverend Ewan MacDonald was held. The organ is the same one played at her wedding, and there are wedding photos in the parlor, as well as some more museum-y artifacts, such as rare editions and first copies of her books. But rare books aside, my favorite thing that I saw that day was Anne's enchanted bookcase. Now, this is a bookcase that Montgomery saw her reflection in and talked to when she was a child, just like Anne. She actually had a Katie Maurice in one side and a Lucy Gray in the other. This is the bookcase, and this is me saying hi to my own little Lucy Gray. Now it's time to go upstairs, and whenever they said there was low ceilings in this building, they definitely weren't joking. The upstairs had a lot of artifacts as well, such as the dish set from Emily of New Moon, a crazy quilt made by Ellen Montgomery, and then the bedroom that her family members set up for her there at Silver Bush that she referred to as my own little bedroom. Ironically, this was her wallpaper, and I had the same wallpaper as a kid, and this was her view of the Lake of Shining Waters. There was also artifacts from the blue chest, which inspired part of her book, The Storybook Girl, which happened to be her favorite book that she ever wrote. After perusing the artifacts, it was time to go downstairs for Matthew's carriage ride. This was an actual carriage ride along the real Lake of Shining Waters, and the carriage ride was driven by a gentleman who introduced himself to us as Matthew, but I later learned he was a great nephew of Montgomery. We stopped by the beach for a few minutes before we headed back, and whenever we made it back, I realized that the museum was actually selling a version of the book that was a replica of the original, and you can get it with a special stamp when you buy it there, as well as signed by 2 of Montgomery's family members, so I got one of those. And we ended out our night watching the Anne of Green Gables movie, which was absolutely perfect. Stay tuned for more adventures in Anne's Canada.